Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The best way to figure out what someone is up to is using at least two methods. One, observing that person's behavior and or usually listening to what that person has to say about his or her moves, next actions. And if that person is consistent in telling you something and then doing what that person told you is going to be doing, then you kind of build a pattern, and then you say, okay, next time when this guy is coming to tell me something, probably he's not going to BS me. Some other people can tell you about what that person is going to do because that's a lot of interest and a lot of agendas that have to be fulfilled by certain interest outside of our reach. In this case, we have Lavrov and Russia. Russia was consistent so far in doing what it says it will do, good or bad. And here we have Lavrov telling us, explaining to us very clearly how the war will end, and how Russia will make the world stop Zelensky or Ukraine continuing this war. Let's see from how would you say it, from the horse's mouth, what Russia intends to do in Ukraine in order to end the war. This article comes from Kiev Independent and it is from December 27th, 2022. Russia's Lavrov says Kremlin to pursue military solution to war until US accepts its demands and forces Ukraine to do the same. So when someone tells you something else about what the Russians want, how they want to invade the rest of the Europe and all that, which could be, but I have and they don't have any evidence. We have no evidence to support that kind of claim. It's just scenarios, and I always tell you how the scenarios work. I can make a lot of scenarios based on whatever my interest is, okay? And that's no. Sometimes when you have evidence, you can say, yes, I foresee this, or possibly this will happen, or probably based on the evidence. So let's see what's going on with Lavrov. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that the Kremlin will continue to pursue a military solution to the war until Ukrainian government capitulates to Russia's demands, the Institute of the Study of War reported. In a December 27th interview with Russian state-owned agency TASS, Lavrov said that Ukraine and the West are, and I'm quoting, all aware of Russia's proposals on the demilitarization and denazification, end quote, of Ukrainian-controlled territory, and that the Russian military will settle these issues if Ukraine refuses to accept their proposal. Well, Russia did not get involved in this and had its boys killed and all this hassle and sanctions imposed on them just because they thought, oh, it's fun to do so and we are the criminals of the world. They told very many times to the Americans, to the Ukrainians, this is what we would like to have, which is, legally bound safety, security documents signed with you guys. That means enough with the bullshit with NATO. NATO is not going to go into Ukraine because that's a security threat to us. So that's the end of it. The other one says, what are you going to do with it? And the Russians said, well, besides that, the Ukrainians should stop killing our Russian connationals in eastern Ukraine. And demilitarization, be neutral, and denazification. Now, with denazification, we have a lot of Azov battalion examples. And nevertheless, the Russians told them, let's talk about this framework. Russia's United States said, no, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. And they started whistling around with Stoltenberg from NATO that, well, if Ukraine wants to, apply for NATO. That's a sovereign country. They were playing stupid, that's what they did. And Russia said, okay, this is what's going to be. This is what is serious, a big, red line right here. And if we're not going to solve this with you, then we're going to intervene militarily. And this guy says, okay, we've been waiting this for some time, so let's go. It's only rock and roll. So here you have it. Now, Russian demands for demilitarization aim to eliminate Ukraine's ability to resist further Russian attacks. Well, this is Kiev independent, okay? Did you put your Ukrainian filters for this kind of propaganda and bullshit? So demands for demilitarization aim to eliminate Ukraine's ability to resist further Russian attacks. No, it's an attempt of the Russians not to have or to prevent the deployment of American missiles at its borders so they can hit targets there faster. That means leaving the Russians less time to react in case these guys have a first strike. Got it? All right, that's the whole point with this NATO shit. If that's gonna be NATO, the Ukraine gonna have an army and it's gonna be part of the NATO, it's gonna be rockets over there ready. All right, while the demands for denazification, let's see, where is that? The need are tantamount to calls for regime change in Ukraine. Well, I don't know, you still have the Azov battalion, and there are many, and now it's called a regiment because it grew. Now you can find out certain kind of statements in that the battalion is incorporated in the Ukrainian army now. Go and check some of those leaders and their statements. I made some videos, I don't know, about 9 months ago, about Azov battalion and their bosses making statements of this and that. Well, if those were not close to that ideology, I don't know what they were. And besides, their action and Ukraine action, political action, directed towards the so-called Russian separatists from the eastern regions, kind of, how would you call that? Directed to another ethnicity. Well, check it out, and look what they did now. They banned some political parties they don't like. They even banned that Russian Orthodox Church, blah, 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 Ukraine. I mean, newspapers closed that they don't like. What is this? You can say, well, there's not Nazi. Well, it's not Nazi, but it's directed towards one ethnicity only. How would you call that? Love and happiness? Anyway, so Lavrov added that Ukraine and the US must recognize Russia's seizure of occupied Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, and Kherson Oblast. Well, what do you want? You want me to kill myself for you, take a chance, destroy my economy, and disrupt the oil market and gas market because of you guys, and you want me to give you that back? No, we're done with that. That little bird flew away a long time ago. The train left the station a long time ago. That was in December 2021 when you said, we're not going to talk to you about anything. Fuck off. Now you have it. Do you think this guy's going to say, yes, let's give it to you back and talk? No, that's a done deal. You can't take that back militarily. So bye-bye. We took it militarily because you didn't want to talk. Now we're going to keep it. You want to take it back? Fight. Like that. Not like Russia is not going to give that back ever unless it's taken from them militarily or given by some future weasel leadership of Russia, like Yeltsin kind of. Russia is going to become again weak and is going to cave to the Western's demands. Lavrov's invocation of a military settlements for the war in Ukraine that achieves Russia's original war aims follows Russian President Vladimir Putin's deliberately vague statements that Russia is open for negotiations on December 25. No, you idiots, you interpreted that the way you wanted for your idiot audience. You said, well, Russia is ready to negotiate. No, he always said we are always open, but you want to take it like that statement, and say, oh, see, they're losing, they want to negotiate, we're beating, we're winning. That's not evidence to support that. But nevertheless, your idiots are biting that like hungry fish. When you just cast the lure, pop, jump on it. That's how your audience is, below 86 IQ, most of it. And they live among us and they vote. You gotta love mass democracy. I'm always coming back to that. Now he says, ISW, Institute of Study of War, assessed that Putin's comments were not an offer to negotiate with Ukraine and indicated that he had not set serious conditions for negotiations. No, the negotiations were done unless you guys start with the Russian demands. The demands were the ones that the whole war started for. Everything would have been solved and cleared if the Ukrainians would have implemented the Minsk agreements of 2014 and 2015. Or we can go a little bit back in time with the chronology of events. If the traitor Ukrainians, why are they traitors? Because they were helped by outside agencies to overthrow a legitimate, democratically elected government of Ukraine. Remember that one? Or you don't want to remember that one? Well, I reminded you. So that's another thing. And then if you want to go even more back, you go to 2008, when that idiot called President Bush II in Romania, he claimed, oh, one day Ukraine and Georgia will join NATO. And Putin's hair on his legs were like, pong, popping up. Really? Okay, you want to go further? Yeah, we're going to go further. The expansion of NATO. After they promised Gorbachev no inch of NATO expansion eastward. How many expansions they had? 5? So you see, if you want to go like this, what was the deal with East Germany? People here say, oh, you know what? And the narrative in the free world is, yeah, we beat the Soviet Union and they lost everything. It was an understanding. It was a discussion. It was negotiations. And the Soviet says, we are going to allow Germany to reunite. No move of NATO eastward. Yeah, that's good, that's okay. What happened with the Warsaw Pact? How come, all of a sudden, like it was an order, all the Eastern European countries and Central European countries, the old Warsaw Pact just disintegrated? Do you think that you all realize, the same guys that were in charge for so many years realize that, hey, freedom and democracy and capitalist is the best way, just overnight? I mean, come on, don't be tards. I mean, all this was, and there are books written. There are books written by Americans and by others, revealing what the hell happened over there and who discussed with who and what was the understanding. Do you think it just collapsed because they couldn't, that's how the story goes, they couldn't support themselves? Soviet Union got bankrupt. Pfft, really? How come Romania survived? And Romania had a worse economic situation than Soviet Union and the countries surrounding Romania. And it needed to be a bloody revolution over there, organized again by both Soviet Union, however you want to call it, and these guys on the other side. Why was that? Because Ceausescu said, no, we're not going to do that. No. Yeah? And what Gorbachev supposedly told Ceausescu when they met in Bucharest? Ceausescu said, while getting Gorbachev to, I think, the airplane, was that or was in Moscow? Anyway, the story goes that Ceausescu told Gorbachev, see you next, I don't know, next whenever. And he said, yeah, if it's going to be another one or something, another meeting, because you're going to be out. And he was by the freedom fighters. Yeah, okay. So you see, if you want to go like that, the guilt is not only unidirectional, and it goes from more than one perpetrator here. But all right, so Lavrov said it clear: we're going to beat Ukraine militarily, and United States will force Ukraine to negotiate, because I think, unless we're tards, we realize who's in charge of who over there. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.